A major victory for Prince Harry. The Duke of Sussex settled his invasion of privacy lawsuit against Rupert Murdoch's news group newspapers. The tabloid's unprecedented apology ends a painful chapter in Harry's life, who was hell-bent on exposing the publisher's wrongdoing from 1996 to 2011. His claims included phone hacking, surveillance, and misuse of private information by journalists and private investigators instructed by them at the News of the World, the news group's now defunct paper.
Harry's lawyer, David Sherborne, called it a monumental victory outside of court. Let's watch.
Today's result has been achieved only through the sheer resilience of Prince Harry and Tom Watson, whose willingness to take news group newspapers to trial has led directly to this historic admission of unlawfulness at the Sun. It has only been by taking news group not just to the steps of court, but inside the courtroom itself, that these claimants have finally managed to extract this historic admission of guilt.
Regular Rising viewers know that my interest in and knowledge of the goings-on of the British royal family is zero. I am with the American founders who rebelled against the need to pay attention to this at all. Excellent. So I have no idea what's happening here. Why don't you fill me in, Niall Stanage?
I will fill you in a second before, or after rather, pointing out that I myself as a proud Irish person have very limited affection for the British royal family, but they do hit the news all the time. What is happening here is Prince Harry took this case against the Murdoch newspapers for invasion of privacy, and it was part of a much longer standing story about the use of phone hacking in particular, not just against Harry or the royal family, against many, many figures in public life. And this created a scandal for the Murdoch newspapers. The significance here is twofold. One is that the vast majority of previous plaintiffs had settled their cases, so the only people left standing were Prince Harry and the other person his lawyer alluded to, Tom Watson, who was a member of the British Labour Party. Former MP, I don't believe he's still in Parliament. The point here also is, for British media watchers, that the wrongdoing was admitted on behalf of the Sun newspaper, which is still in existence. Previously, accusations of phone hacking and so forth had led to the closure of another Murdoch Sunday tabloid, the News of the World, and the closure of the News of the World was intended to sort of cordon off the contamination from these acts. Now that has been, that cordon of sanitation has been broken down. It is a big victory for Prince Harry. There has been an acknowledgement also of the invasion of privacy of his late mother, Princess Diana's life, and the effects that had not just on her, but on Harry and presumably Prince William also. So that's basically the short version, is Prince Harry defeats Rupert Murdoch, even though it's officially a settlement. It's a victory for Harry.
Yeah, look, I am of several minds in that I want people to be able to enjoy their privacy, even if they're, important public eye type figures. I think Harry and Meghan Markle often themselves try to have it both ways and be like, no, we just want our privacy respected, but also we want to be these celebrity figures. They just want positive publicity, but you can't control what kind of publicity you get. And if you're entertainment and cultural figures, and if people don't like you, that's sorry, that's just how it works out. Obviously, everyone has the right to not be illegally spied on in a kind of... I've heard about this story, obviously, over the years. I know so little about the details of it. How were the phones hacked? Who did... I can't imagine... Did journalists put little bugs on the... What happened?
So if I am recalling the details correctly, what happened was that people posed as people who they were not to get phone records. Now, I think there was employment of private investigators who did hack phones by, I guess, calling up the phone provider and saying, I've forgotten my PIN or whatever. Now, you would think that would raise some alarm bells if it was Prince Harry or whatever, but they appear to have got into these kind of records or being able to record phone calls. There's also a whole separate controversy about Piers Morgan, who denies personal involvement in all this, although he was certainly around the British tabloid newspaper scene at the time.
Yes, Piers Morgan has become one of the most interesting commentators around right now. The show he has, which features a lot of guests and hosts we've had on Rising and kind of just personalities in the YouTube ecosystem, is very, very interesting. That is what I know him for, being associated with that. This is an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. It's not an acknowledgement, like, who made was it the editors at the paper who said, yeah, this would be a good idea, or somebody just did it and then they covered? I can't imagine Rupert Murdoch ordered them to do this.
There was
so unusual.
There was a culture. I mean, first of all, I think we should say the British tabloid world.
It's hard to understand from the American perspective.
It's hard to understand, and it's
like
very different. I mean, the ethics and mores of the British tabloid world are very different from the more reputable sectors.
The closest
of the press
thing
here.
we had to this was like Gawker.
Right.
Publishing, sex tapes of celebrities, publishing honestly just vile revenge porn type things that were sent into them. I'm a pretty free speech maximalist, but the stuff they were doing was just so utterly reprehensible, and then they ultimately got sued out of existence by Hulk Hogan being bankrolled by Peter Thiel for revenge, which has an unseemly dimension to it. But the wrongdoing, in my view, on their part was just so vast that I don't think any jury in the country would have acquitted them. It was so bad.
Right, and in the British tabloid culture, a lot of this stuff is pretty prurient things about people's sex lives and sleeping with people who they shouldn't be sleeping with and all of that kind of thing. And so obviously if you can hack into someone's phone, or if you get their phone records under false pretenses, that is an effective but morally reprehensible way of doing it. It is that has ignited the whole scandal, which has been going on for many, many years. I noticed that the Murdoch Group has spent more than £1 billion British pounds in either legal costs or settling these cases. So it has been a massive and long-lasting saga.
The British tabloid kind of ecosystem is interesting because also, though, British, well, tell me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is Britain has much stricter libel and defamation laws than we do here in the United States. So it's easier for celebrities, entertainment figures to sue you for negative coverage there than it is here.
It is, and one of the things that is an odd side benefit of that, which I regret doesn't happen in America, is that there are all these coded phrases in Britain that are used to imply something else, and so you need to know the codes to understand what has really been alleged sometimes, and it circumvents.
It's like when they, on social media, TikTok, but all social media, they use other terms to because that term, they say corn now instead of porn. They say
exactly.
The COVID pandemic was the Backstreet Boys reunion tour or the Panda Express.
Yes.
Love that.
There's a satirical magazine in Britain called Private Eye. There's no real exact analogue to it here, but the closest is probably The Onion. And so they have this whole panoply of phrases, including the suggestion of someone being drunk in public. They are always described as tired and emotional, which is the general idea of all of that.
Yeah, the kids on social media always say unalived instead of death or suicide. Exactly. Unalived. More to talk about on Rising today. Please stay with us.